My name is Derek Weberg. I am the environmental science teacher at Framingham High School. Taught summer school for 1 year, one summer, and got just wandering around, looking at what the grounds had to offer, and noticed the pond, the swamp, the woods, whatever people called it all. I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I just felt like this would be good to get my students outside. It looks like it's useless, swampy, of no value. And what I like about that is simply it becomes a challenge to change the students' ideas. As I understand it, the land is not being used for anything specific right now. I'd like to see it used for some other things. One is maybe just an education center, trails, set up some specific areas that we create as designated sites for study and tracking of the health of the pond, the health of the wetland.
The Framingham High School is located in the town's oldest village, Saxonville, in the northern part of Framingham. The 15 acres of woodland, which Derek Weberg finds so interesting and unique, is located on the northern corner of the school's property. It is bordered by the school and its athletic fields on the south, Lowther Road on the west, Central Street on the north, and the Sudbury River to the east. Within this compact and diverse land is a body of water which, as early maps indicate, was once an offshoot of the Sudbury River. Yet, today there is no apparent connection to the Sudbury, and it is thought the system is spring-fed. The water supply flows through the woods until it is dammed up at the access bridge where it gathers into a pond. A small trickle of water falls over this dam and forms a small stream which flows through the lowlands of the woods and then spills into the Sudbury River. Just over the central wooded hills lies a large bog or marsh area.
I would say there may be more material going in there than what I would call a very healthy pond would like to have. Generally, I don't think it's as bad as they feel it is. It looks at times pretty gross.
Crap, looks like doesn't look too good.
Back here, I have to say it's a smelly mess.
And this water is all polluted and gooey, and I think they got asbestos in it or something.
My name is Leslie Willits, Framingham Conservation Commissioner. And this is coming straight from my mother-in-law. She swam off the bridge. You know, they could jump off the bridge and into the nice clean water there. Later on, my husband's father was a Boy Scout master, a leader. And the Boy Scouts on the back end of this property upstream had actually created a little beach area. Today, nobody would even think of swimming in here.
Early maps dating back to the 17th century indicate that the area which is now behind the Framingham High School has always remained a wooded reserve in the Saxonville village of Framingham. Yet, few records exist to indicate the specific uses for the land over the past few centuries. Some documents indicate David Stone, the son of Framingham's first European settler, John Stone, as the land's first owner. The stream which once ran from nearby Juniper Hill would then have been diverted during the construction of the Mass Pike during the 1950s and the pond area created. Other records suggest Michael Simpson, owner of the Saxonville Mills, owned this land. If so, Simpson was the one who dammed the waterway in order to create a pond which he could then stock for fishing. Although the exact history of the area is not clear, it is clear that the land passed unchanged through generations of family members until it was acquired by the town in the mid-20th century. Land immediately surrounding the area was subdivided for homes, and the high school was built in 1963. The land has no official name.
I am John Stasek, state representative representing the 6th Middlesex District, which is most of Framingham. The Nyanza plant was a dye plant in Ashland, and I think closed finally in 1972. But as a result of their chemical activity, actually resulted in a fair amount of mercury pollution into the river. It got into the groundwater. The groundwater eventually carried it to the river. And so the river, as I'm sure you've noticed, has a number of signs on it not to eat the fish. And you should not eat the fish.
You know, a lot of it got real trashed back in the, was it early 70s, when they had double sessions here at the high school. That did a terrible number on this whole area. And the woods, the upland forest, is just now beginning to recover with the understory with shrubs and ground cover.
And I know there are things like snowmobiles and snow blowers and push carts from the supermarket and stuff thrown around out there.
Most of the changes have been to the topography of the land. And again, this comes back to mountain bikers. You know, kids that really don't realize what they're doing. This year and last year, we've even had, you know, the heavy use by motorbikes, motorized bikes, that do even worse damage than the mountain bikes.
We do know that in the evenings that land has been used by dirt bike people. I'm not sure about any other use, but the dirt bike people have caused some deterioration of the land over there.
I don't know who called. I think it was Dorley call. He's safety officer for Framingham Police. Somebody called and said, "Can you fill that back in?" Okay.
We are taking the drainage of all of the high school parking lot. We're taking drainage from Lothar Road area, and that's all coming in. And everything that happens on that parking lot, whether it's oil leaks, antifreeze that breaks loose, fertilizers that are used on the grass, if there's any herbicides or pesticides up there, all of that is washed into the catch basins, which eventually all winds up discharged down here. I get upset when I see bikes being trashed. I guess on a couple of levels. One, the poor person who lost the bike. You know, some kid went to get their bike and their bike is gone. So that's been, you know, impact on just a personal life someplace around here. You know, the other thing, you know, you've thrown it into a resource area, a water resource area, which means it's going to rust and have all kind of reaction and chemical reactions with the water. You know, somebody should come and take it out of there. But what do you do when you take it out?
I think there's an attitude concern of that this is kind of a dumpy area. It's a swamp, it's a dump, it's a mess, whatever. It's polluted. And I think that's a problem because either people don't care or didn't care, and we need to find out what the problem is. So that's one of my goals with the students coming out here is, what do you see as a problem? How do you propose addressing it? And maybe they will start to generate some ideas that we can then build and work into a broader resolution. I'd like the students to see that I'm curious, and I'd like them to wonder why, and hopefully come away with a reason to be curious themselves. So I want them to see the diversity, the differences, and the uniqueness of the area. It's a chance for learning in the most natural setting we can get. I'll take them outside and say, we're going to go on a scouting mission. I'm going to show you what is here. You've probably been one time or another, and there are all a number of jokes that go with that. But I'll take them out, we'll wander around a little bit, and I'll show them down to the river, along the creek, over the dam, up the side, around the pond on either side. And then often what I've done is said, okay, now I want you to just stop, look, listen, draw, make some notes, make some diagrams. Everybody goes outside, does some pond water sampling, does some what they call quadrat checking. In other words, lay out a plot of land and identify species, populations, and so on of organisms.
Note the location of your map and then begin to collect data on plants, animals, and temperature, water, sun, and wind.
Right now, I'm standing on a scrap pallet that the biology teachers and I got together and put these out here, kind of anchored them so that as the water level goes up and down, there's no problem in them floating away, but an access point so the kids can come down, take samples, get plants and animals and organisms out of here, just a way to get at the water. I have not seen any other areas that I would say match this.
This is a gem. There are not many green areas as open as this is.
This particular area has been mentioned to me a number of times that it's a particularly beautiful area of the river that we should make more accessible. And having been here, I certainly would agree.
Directly behind me is what I call the bog, and it's an area that is mostly flooded, has a layer of scrub on top of an organic base, and mostly is floating with connectors, and it's a pretty fragile area, but also a really diverse area. It's great for animals to hide, breed. I've seen ducks come and go. It's a fascinating place just to sort of sit and watch, and hopefully it'll thrive. I've seen all sorts of other things. This would be an area where we might find carnivorous plants. But it's often an acidic environment, collects a lot of debris that's always breaking down. Well, one of the nice things about the bog is it offers a natural filter for the wetlands. It is an area that will hopefully and usually get rid of pollutants. They come through and are, if possible, broken down or at least trapped, so they don't go further. It's one of the nice things about a wetland. Types of animals out here that I've come across, I mean, the obvious are squirrels, the standard kind of stuff, squirrels and mice and rabbits and stuff, but also I've seen tracks for other things. I'm not sure what yet, and I'm going to let them do a little digging. I think there are some predators and that kind of thing. I've seen in the water frogs and turtles. Salamanders are here, which is a nice sign, because a lot of the aquatics that are having often thought of as either indicator species or sentinel species, which means if they aren't making it, they're some of the first to go. And so if that happens, then we got a problem. Makes me think we're not as bad as the kids think it is. But a lot of other birds too, varieties of birds. There are some, I've seen a hawk and there's some owls, so that's a nice sign too. What I see here is a very compact diversity. The feature of having a bog a hilly wooded area that's an old growth with oak trees as well as pine trees and young scrub where things have been removed, to the river flowing, the creek, the dam, the pond. There's a real mix in classroom walking time to the school. By the end of the semester, they're usually at least more focused and aware. Most of the time at the end of the semester, they're coming back to me after the class going, "Hey, Mr. Weberg, did you see this? Did you notice that this has happened?"
The areas where I'm standing right here, right behind the fields at the high school, is definitely a very treasured area of the river that we need to maintain, clean up.
The advocates do look down here and clean up down here when we do a major cleanup. This is always one of the target spots. I'd like to see more coming in from the school as far as cleanups.
As far as pollution, we got to look very carefully at what is pollution, what isn't pollution there. I'm not sure that this is necessarily a polluted area, but it certainly is becomes a stagnant area.
The advocates do cleanups in and around, anything around the river itself. As a major tributary to the river, this area is always looked at. And we did one major one here where we took enough stuff out by the dam that we could have put a car together.
We also have to recognize that it's part of a larger waterway that the community has some concerns about and has taken some action with. But we look at it, the town, the school's buildings and grounds committee look at it, and numerous town offices will look at it too.
I'm the tree warden. Sometimes you gotta use a little finesse with people, You don't like you doing things, so you gotta know a little about what the rules and regulations are, Leslie watches this like she come all over me when we did that path, and it was getting pretty overgrown, and they were complaining. So I sent my guys over to cut all the brush and get the poison ivy away, You're doing stuff within 100 feet of the waterway. Leslie, we know this. Which comes first, safety or? I agree with the environment, but God, something. You gotta use common sense.
Last December, November, December, a group came to the principal requesting permission to come on the grounds and do some filming. It was they were from the film crew for the movie A Civil Action, and as I understand it, I'm reading the book now. It's about the toxic waste found in Woburn. And true story, John Travolta was intending to come here, potentially flown in by helicopter, and the publicity did wonders for a couple things. One was the school was just abuzz with it. Everybody was very interested. It got from a regular crew of 10 plus or minus in the environmental club to a 50, 60 one day when we were talking about he may be coming.
John Travolta was supposed to be here, and he did come. That's the story.
They never did come because the pond froze, and they couldn't make use of it. So it messed up their plans and disappointed a lot of folks.
We had to forgo our claim to fame. So maybe we'll find it some other day.
For my part, it did offer us a little more publicity, and so hopefully some people are paying attention to the pond and the area and maybe see that we're trying to use it in a good way. After the crew for A Civil Action, the John Travolta hoopla came through, they had done some good cleanup, taken a lot of debris, old rusted hulks of bikes and cars and shopping carts, and got rid of a lot of stuff, which was a great feature for us. But it has started to be a recollection point. I know there's a bike down there today. I saw it. There's another couple bikes over by the bog, and stuff gets thrown out, and kids and other folks, whoever, aren't really paying attention. So yeah, it is. It's, I think, a lack of awareness, lack of concern, and that's something we're hoping to make some changes. April 25th of this year, 98, there's going to be a Green Up Framingham. The environmental club is going to try and join with that from their own initiatives, which is to get out and pick up trash.
What we're trying to do out here is pick up some of the fallen trash from Framingham High School or from other crossing pedestrians or whoever, what have you, and just clean up, make it look a little nicer.
I would love to see if we could somehow kind of make this a readily accessible area and still maintain it. That's always a tough route. If we could end up getting some areas that are fairly safe, not going to be wrecked by kids or people that come out here, it'll offer students and other people a chance to have a nice place to come. I see people walking their dogs. I see people coming out just looking around. If there was more to see and more to do, and even, if part of our projects become labeling the trees, putting up signs of value that explain what's out here, what's meant by this, what they might see and when, look in April for, look in June for this, and so on, it might become even more interesting and less damaged over time. People may care about it more.
If you open a place up and you make it accessible to a lot of people, then that in and of itself is going to prevent unsavory activity from going on. It's when there are very few people around that you get the fires, you get the smoking, the drugs, the whatever. It doesn't happen if you have families coming through here on hikes and if you have people here all the time. There is a program that is carried out by the National Guard. They have huge lifters and trucks and flatbeds and all kinds of equipment to help us clean up the big heavy stuff out of the river.
If they're going to bring in a lot of heavy equipment, I have a problem, a concern, how far they'd go.
As you go into the narrower neck of this system here, you get a lot of blockage, which probably winds up more detrimental.
I would hate to destroy a habitat that is a natural habitat. So I'm not ready to sign on to any kind of program that will bring heavy equipment in there until we looked at it very, very carefully. And I think the environmental consciousness of that and the Conservation Commission would feel the same way.
I stand behind Representative Stasek as far as getting these people in here to do that kind of work. I would love to see this area either one, turned over to the Conservation Commission and become Conservation Commission land, or at least have the school department put a conservation restriction on the land. And what that means is to keep it in its natural state and not be looking at it for any future growth of the high school.
What we in the school department have decided is we would like to maintain that land ourselves for whatever educational purposes we deem would be necessary.
It should be used for environmental education as an outdoor classroom and not with the thoughts of running tracks and whatever else.
The school from time to time has talked about putting an athletic field over there.
I like when I see Mr. Weaver in here with his kids and actually learning and saying, this place is worth saving.
In order to make this part of the river specifically designated educational, recreational facility, would take a real concerted effort on the part of the educational, the government, the environmental organizations, all within this area, to get on the same page and say, this is something we're really going to go for, this is something that's really important.
I think it's really important that people see areas like this. And I think it's really important that people realize that instead of taking a half hour and watching the television or, telling their kids to pick up their room, to take that half hour and walk through an area like this. Then you can go back to all that other stuff and you can see it with a little bit more calmness and a little more security in yourself as a person, and find your place within the whole scheme of all of this environmental stuff.
This spot provides a fairly easy and accessible place to go to escape the tensions that we all feel. We all experience failures, we all experience depression, and we get upset about things. And I think for most of us, it's very helpful to be able to escape it. And this is close, and this is easy. Those are all things that we need to do as a human society.
To make it happen is going to take time and money. I mean, one of the things is I'd love to link in this sort of stuff into a project for classes in the school, mine, tech ed folks, other groups might be interested. I wouldn't even mind seeing if I could at some point maybe take some time to work on it independent of my teaching load, and maybe take a leave at one point and really work it up once I've got it going. But, you know, gotta have a dream. You in turn may generate some interest, because here you are talking to me. That's half the battle, is generating a level of curiosity. And if we can get that happening, then it doesn't matter if it's polluted or not. There may be an interest, and people don't want it to be polluted. And that's a hope that maybe these kids can get involved with that.